We can move on to the standings and look at the Hell Yeah Conference straight up, Courtney.
Yeah, look, I think every week at the moment there's a lot of excitement building for games because the race for the top three is still close enough that it's getting us excited. So that Ice versus Bears game, I think, for any of the fans watching it, would have had them on the edge of their seat, and those two teams now sit tied. So for the last couple of weeks, they've been one or 2 points apart, and now to be sitting on the same points, I think every game coming is just going to be so important for the two of those, and to see who's going to land on top. And Thunder's fighting, so they, the North Stars have seen them 3 times in the past fortnight, and taken quite a few of those points. Off the top of my head, I think they've taken 7 of the potential 9 points. And when you're pinching those numbers out of the other conference, it really adds up over here. And not sure, Doogie, I think we getting close to that's probably our top 3 at this point.
I would say so. I think it's still statistically possible for the Mustangs, but I think those 3 are set. I can't see those 3 changing at all.
Other than potentially the order.
Yeah, well, the order is what we'll probably look at as the season progresses, but I can't see that top 3 actually changing it. There is some tasty matchups. Like the Bears have got the North Stars this weekend, and you've got the Thunder traveling to Adelaide to play Adelaide on a back-to-back, and two wins for Adelaide at their home rink. They stay in Adelaide. They don't travel again. They got another home series this weekend. Who knows? Who knows what Adelaide can produce against the Thunder?
Yeah, look, absolutely. And when you've got those 3 teams who are going out and having really successful wins each week, they're moving into each round with that confidence that they know they can win. They know they can do it. So that side of hockey that relies on mindset, I think, is working very much in the favor of the Hell Yeah Conference in that regard. And any thoughts, Tristan?
Yeah, I was just looking at it and thinking that, like, I agree with you guys. I can't see anyone else coming into that top 3 in the Hell Yeah Conference, but both the Mustangs and even the Ice Dogs, they're better teams than that. Like, to be likely out of the running at sort of the halfway point of the season is a bit of a shame, because they're real contenders. Like, they're strong teams and they can bring it to anyone they're playing against. But look, those top 3 teams are just too good at the moment.
And I don't know. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I don't know, Tristan. I don't know if you know the stats around the Mustangs and the points and the way it's sort of falling. Like, if they obviously got to go on a flawless run, and obviously if the Thunder just fall off the cliff as well, but it's going to be tough. And they've got a Melbourne derby this Friday night too, so it's not getting any easier.
No, it's not. But I mean, quick rule of thumb: they got 14 games left and they're 14 points behind, so they can get it done. But it's tough. It's a real uphill push from there.
I think one of the sort of spicy aspects of this conference too is that the incentive starts to disappear for the Mustangs and the Ice Dogs to, like, ideally you hope that they will still show up and give their absolute best every game, but there is that growing opinion, and I see it out in the AIHL fans who talk that, it does make it tricky when the conference system isn't quite as equal. So if we flicked over to the Rurat conference, you then see a much tighter battle with points than we do in this one. So while the North Stars hold a 9-point lead over Lightning and Brave, it's 9 points isn't much in the scheme of another 14 games that still need to be played. So, and even then the Adrenaline Rhinos aren't as far behind and can very much have a good run and get themselves up in and compete for those spots. So, as I mentioned a moment ago, like the Brave making their way back, they sat at the bottom of this conference for quite some time at the start of this season, and they've had a good run, and now they're sitting in 3rd. So, I guess thoughts, Doogie?
I think, and we just sort of touched on it with Adelaide and Perth this weekend. You just look at Adelaide, and we know GG's big on Adelaide, this season. But you look at those games in hand, that's massive. And if they can get on a run, then they're really a strong contender to get into that top 3.
Especially after they picked up all 6 points against the Rhinos on the weekend, and those intra-conference points are huge. So they'll be a little bit disappointed a couple of weeks ago where they only took 1 of the 6 points against the Brave. But when they come up against particularly the Lightning as well, and on the other series when they came across to Erina, if they can pick up most of those points, they're in a really good spot.
Yeah, I agree. We just got some comments as well in the chat before we keep going. Phil Taylor is finally in the chat. GG's bringing the big comments tonight so he doesn't have to lose his spot to Tristan permanently. I totally agree with Phil. Natasha Denton, what are the Thunder's chances of catching the Ice/Bears?
That's going to be a tough one. So through the games against the Ice and Bears so far, they've played 4 games, they're 1-3. They can catch them, but it's uphill just because that's 10 points between them, and I don't see the Ice and the Bears dropping huge amounts of games on the way home.
Sean O'Connor, if you think you have the top 2 Ice and Bears, then the race between the Thunder and Stars for 3rd. Andrew John Egan's in the chat as well. Going to be tough, especially with Bears run at home firing up. Corey Katina in the chat. One thing to consider is Bears Suns still have 3 games against each other, including 2 of the last 3 games. And Sean O'Connor, I was surprised by the Rhinos losing both games. I thought it would be a split weekend in Adelaide. I did actually as well. I thought the Rhinos were a good shout to at least get 1 win, 1 win from the weekend. And the Saturday game was really tight. I enjoyed watching the Saturday game, and it could have gone either way. So I was surprised about that as well. I don't know about you two that the Rhinos couldn't get at least 1 win.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised too, especially after I think it was the weekend before, or maybe the one before that, they'd had a really good showing against both the Thunder and the Bears, where ultimately they got beat, but it was really tight margins, and they had sort of, I think in both games, they led at points in the second period. So they came in with a bit of form.
Same with their matchup with the Ice. Like they took Melbourne Ice to overtime. So there was an expectation of that, I guess, being that bit more competitive, and certainly nothing against Adrenaline, but when they're matching up against the top teams in the Helia conference so well, to then go in their own conference and not get 1, I did definitely thought they might have been able to get something there.
I think as well, I think it's good. I know we talk about this a fair bit. And it is pleasing to see that they aren't getting blown out. So they are just staying competitive now, which is really good to see. And you hope that the wheel starts to turn where those tight losses that are 4-3 or 2-1 or the overtime loss start to turn in their favour.
Yeah. And with the North Stars too, like while they sit 9 points ahead, they have quite a few away games coming up. So we only have 5 home games left out of the next 14. So that's a lot of games on the road. And now when they've been used to only traveling fairly close distances, to start pushing and have that energy to play away, I feel they've really got to come together. While they're a bit depleted at the moment as far as a few players that are out. For example, they've got a Brisbane road trip at the end of the month. They've got an Adelaide doubleheader road trip coming up as well. So they're going to be like 2 weekends where those points will be incredibly valuable because they're interconference games. So hopefully we'll see some good competitive games come out of those, because Adelaide and Brisbane will want the points to get up the ladder, and Newcastle's going to want it to keep their seed, like keep that top spot.
Yeah, things could really tighten up in that conference as we move into the end of the month. Some more comments as well. Phil Taylor, I tipped a split weekend for that too. And Andrew John Egan, Rhinos dropped their bundle a bit. I put the Moz on them. He certainly did with last week's comments. He's big on the Rhinos, Andrew Egan.